The hilarious, the totally zany, the incredibly insane Animaniacs are back, and the woke liberal left wing press is not happy about it. Hey, what's going on YouTube? I wanted to do a break from my typical video, which is political streaming related to Reopen Washington and the Facebook group and all the events that I'm involved in. Now that the campaign is over, and I've got this media set up here in my studio to make recordings, I figured I might take a break from that political stuff and just do something that matters to me. And you might think it's silly. Hey, the Animaniacs, what does this matter to anybody? Well, I think it's interesting just because they've just been rebooted for 2020 by Hulu, and I just wanted to check it out, and mainly because my 12-year-old is currently going through all of the seasons for the original Animaniacs, something that I really liked when I was a kid. And now that I'm able to watch it, I haven't seen it since the 90s when it was on TV. Now that I'm able to watch it with my adult eyes, I can see a lot of the humor that maybe went over my head at the time, and it's really fun to see my own kid, who's 12, going through and watching episodes and then parroting back the jokes and the humor to me, while we're in other situations in the kitchen, at the store, and he tells me something that he thinks is incredibly funny. So I was a little worried about this because like everything, the media, typically stuff out of Hollywood, likes to inject left-wing, far-left culture into everything. They make everything woke. They inject the sexualized kids, and they inject gay stuff into, everything that's out there. And it's almost like they're trying to recruit our children. And for those reasons, and just the commercials, the crap that we don't want into our life, we have not had any TV service since he was about 2 or 3 years old. And at that time, we only had it for a couple of months. We don't have an antenna. We don't have cable TV. We only have the Apple TV box and the Amazon Fire TV box. That's it. We've got Prime Video. We rent things through iTunes. And then we also have a Plex connection where we get shared media from a friend. Other than that, we don't have TV service. We don't intend to have TV service. So with this Animaniacs, I was a little bit worried, and I was typically with a lot of these reboots, they ruin the series. They inject a lot of woke, liberal, left culture into them, and whether or not you think that's a good thing, it's not something that I want in my own house. And so when I heard about this reboot, I said, hey, we'll check it out when it comes out. And it just came out the other day. And the first thing I did was I went and looked for some reviews on the internet, and the stuff I saw, I mean, there's some decent reviews out there, but I pulled up five different reviews from Gawker Media and NBC and from Collider. And this one from Collider is particularly funny, but Gawker Media, who runs the AV Club, this is one of the leftovers from the Gawker Media franchise. And then you have Gizmodo. This is Gizmodo AU. They both have run a couple of negative pieces on the series. And here's one from the AV Club. The headline is, "You won't find the Hello Nurse in Hulu's new Animaniacs reboot." Obviously, they're happy about that. They don't want the Hello Nurse because it has a heteronormative structures there with the two boys, and typically a curvy nurse would come in and also a male nurse, and they would go into this mode where they are checking out the nurse's physique, and they say, "Hello, nurse," and they will jump into the nurse's lap or something funny like that. And obviously that's problematic, as you can imagine. So they talk about here how Dot, the sister, relying more on her wit and intelligence instead of, in the past, she was relying on her cuteness. So they're really happy that she's relying on her wit and intelligence more. And they talk about how one of the first things to go immediately, hello nurse, was goodbye nurse. So they wanted to get rid of that. They weren't happy about that. Gizmodo says Hulu's Animaniacs reboot is nostalgic for all the wrong reasons. Yakko Wacko and Dot are back, and they're ready to turn 2020 upside down. And they talk about some of the same stuff. One of the things they complain about is one of the things that this guy complains about over here in the Collider article. We'll go through that one in a second. Here's your tax dollars at work, and I'll try to do my best NPR voice here. The Animaniacs reboot faces a conundrum. And then they talk about how they make a Hillary Clinton jab, and let's see here. Because it's 2020, the Animaniacs theme song includes a line in which the characters proclaim they are gender balanced, pronoun neutral, and ethnically diverse. It's just one sign that the reboot, now streaming on Hulu, is thoroughly of this moment. Among the 13 episodes, there is a segment involving a bizarre allegory for gun control, using bunnies instead of guns, puns about fake news, and Make America Great Again, and of course, at least one Hillary Clinton jab. They make a joke about her running for running for president, and they say they ask if she finally broke the glass ceiling, and then they also poke fun at President Trump, and they have a cartoonish version of him where he's really angry. And I think that they're equally making fun of everybody on both sides. And that's what they did back then. That's what they're doing now. But the woke liberals here that run Gawker Media and NPR and NBC, they're not happy about that. They only want things to go one way. They have labeled this as a conservative. It's too conservative now because it doesn't push their narrative. They say it has little of its magic. Hulu's Animaniacs has plenty of the original's references, but little of its magic. In attempting to reboot a beloved children's classic, Animaniacs reminds us that change is often a good thing, and some parts of the past are better left behind. They don't want people making fun of the woke liberal left culture. They don't want people making fun of gender-neutral bathrooms and any of that kind of stuff, because that's their agenda. And they think it's only fair to make fun of things that they don't agree with. They don't want you. They want to make fun of people who are Trump supporters. They want to make fun of conservatives. They want to call us all hillbillies and rednecks. But in the end, they can't take the criticism. They can't take the humor when it goes the other way. And here's a prime example of this. Looking at let me just scroll back up. Collider, an article by Gregory Lawrence. It brings me no pleasure to report that the new Animaniacs is bad. Review. The reboot is now streaming on Hulu. In watching the 5 episodes of the Hulu Animaniacs reboot provided for review, someone could have made a time-lapse video of my face and called it Man Transitions from Smiling to Frowning. Episode 1 begins with the delightful Jurassic Park riff before cutting to that incredible major 6th chord-centered theme song that we all know and love. And in that moment, I'm all in. And then, about halfway through the newly recorded theme song, we get a lyric about how this new version is gender-balanced, has neutral pronouns, with a corresponding visual of the Warners on a bathroom, and is ethnically diverse. This to me was the beginning of the end. And as Animaniacs kept commenting on itself, its past, and its need to destroy our weak-ass PC culture, my frown kept frowning. Put it another way, the new Animaniacs never stops mansplaining, even if a new lyric claims it doesn't. And then you can look at this guy's bio. You can just take a look at this guy really quick. You can see Yeah, his picture explains a lot here, but uh, I'll show you his Twitter in just a second. The original Animaniacs series aired from 93 to 98 with a simple premise and wildly complicated, impressive, self-referential, and culturally resounding gags, segments, and songs. Yakko, Wacko, and Dot are the Warner brothers and the Warner sister, who live in the WB Water Tower, run around the lot, and get into all kinds of mischief. Beyond these central stories, we also had similarly iconic sub-shows like Pinky and the Brain, featuring two laboratory mice with wildly differing IQs who try to take over the world. These base realities give the Animaniacs crew free rein to deliver Gilbert and Sullivan-esque patter songs and geography, episode length genre parodies, and a general sense of chaotic silliness delivered smartly. It played to kids, it played to adults, it spoke to everyone like they were on the same level. The 2020 version of Animaniacs, conversely, speaks to everyone like they're stupid idiots. And the 2020 version of Animaniacs is the only bastion of intelligence in a stupid, idiotic world. That is, when it's not calling itself stupid for daring to dream of recapturing its 90s magic. We are in a stupid, idiotic world, Gregory. Have you not taken a look around? See, that's the funny thing about it. This guy thinks we're in some brave new progressive future, and he even talks about that here, that we're in this modern world, and that he doesn't appreciate the Animaniacs making fun of it. But anybody who steps back and thinks about, gender neutral bathrooms and the idea of changing one's gender in general, it's totally silly. And I think it's completely valid for the Animaniacs to make fun of this. Anybody who's watched the old series can see they were totally irreverent. They made fun of everything on all sides. And so anybody could laugh at the series. And these guys want to cater to just a tiny little percentage of the population. They want to basically write animation for themselves. They don't want to write animation for a general audience, to make a profit. This shift in POV, point of view, come on, man. You can't just write point of view. This shift in POV is not only needlessly mean-spirited and cynical, but represents a fundamental misunderstanding of the original series' comedy math. Oh, please, Gregory, explain to us the original series and what it meant. It's very plainly explained in the theme song, even in this new version, that the Animaniacs themselves are, quote, zany to the max, that they cavort around just for fun, and that authority figures are constantly trying to stop them and lock them back up. Comedically, the Animaniacs are our unusual characters, and the world around them is our voice of reason. The central trio, who are zany, who cause chaos, who disrupt the normal base realities of our more reasonable, reactionary characters. Not true. In the original series, Yakko and Wacko and Dot are always acting as the voice of reason. At the same time, they're going crazy. I mean, they have a balance there. And I don't think this guy's even watched the original series since he was a kid. Not so in the new version. Here, the returning cast and new showrunner Wesley Mild of Family Guy fame, which brings a lot of this show's venomous new tone shift into context, paint the Animaniacs as our voice of reason, our figureheads of intelligence reacting to a world gone mad, our Jim Halperts, not our Michael Scotts. The opening crack about how wild and funny it is that bathrooms have gender-neutral signs is only the tip of the iceberg of this strangely conservative-leaning shift in comic voice. So anybody who disagrees with, the XY chromosome sets that we have, is now conservative-leaning. Woke jokes run rampant, with trite and hackneyed observations about current-day hipsters and how sensitive they are. They are sensitive, Gregory. Look at the article you're writing, Mr. Hipster. The scripts stare at our modern world, please, with a head on a swivel, eager to poke at every single aspect, especially if it involves a modicum of progressivism. But also it invokes joked-to-death topics like Russian trolls and Trumpism, and call it dumb. Instead of successfully having bite, it plays more like obviously fake vampire teeth, and it sidelines three of our most splendidly wild animated comedy characters into delivering arms-folded, uninvested wisecracks about the stuff happening to them, rather than making stuff happen. At one point, a caricature of Seth Meyers is seen drinking from a mug that reads smug, which is about as explicit a pot calling a kettle moment as I have ever seen on television. Self-awareness has always been part and parcel of the Animaniacs vibe, stepping into the family-friendly but surprisingly sharp vaudeville programming traditions of The Muppet Show with aplomb. But in this new series, self-awareness becomes a pervasive Achilles heel, a surefire stopping of any story momentum, even any desire to tell a story. 2020 Animaniacs is obsessed with itself being a 2020 reboot of a 1990s cartoon, and furthermore, it hates itself for being one. I can respect and understand the first episode being predicated on and stuffed with jokes about being a reboot, a money grab, a representation of Hollywood's lost creativity, but to keep pounding this comedic avenue for at least 5 episodes of a 13-episode season yields diminishing returns immediately. It's perverse how often one of the characters will stop everything to comment on how the show is a biting satire, with zero variation in phrasing. It's maddening how little Animaniacs wants to tell new stories or write new songs when it's content on living within quotation marks of the 1990s animated series Animaniacs. At one point, the Animaniacs travel to Russia to make fun of a Russian reboot of Animaniacs, becoming an in-universe commentary on why it's a bad idea to reboot Animaniacs in any capacity. It's stuck, and it loves being stuck. It seems to acknowledge writing new stories is hard, and instead of even trying, it just coolly states how cool it is to self-efface. It's like Dan Harmon and the writers of Last Man Standing had to come to a creative compromise, and no one was happy as a result. And the show is about how no one was happy as a result. I get the feeling, the more I read this guy has not watched the original series in a long, long time. And I would bet you that the creators of this reboot spent a lot of time studying the original series to get the same feel and effect. Just a suspicion. Phew, that's a lot of negativity to expound on a cartoon, no matter how designedly negative the cartoon is. So here's what's positive about the 2020 Animaniacs. No episode featured a one-off gag I at least didn't chuckle at. It's shorter tags, consistently delivered, especially one riffing on the nonsense of sports press conferences that hits the sweet spot of effective meta jokes pretty damn well. So, sports conferences are nonsense, but gender-neutral bathrooms are not. Got it, Gregory. The new version of Pinky and the Brain, a short which was in every episode watched for review, is pretty much a constant win. It has tonally shifted into hard, sci-fi, Black Mirror-esque stories to fruitful results, telling new stories in a reboot. What a concept! It actually has some stuff to say about emotionally enjoying things, Pinky, versus intellectually hating things, Brain, and the rest of the 2020 Animaniacs. It has some delicious physical comedy, and surprisingly smart joke writing. It's no exaggeration to say if Hulu had rebooted Pinky and the Brain as a series of 10-ish minute episodes while scrapping Animaniacs entirely, I'd be writing a very different review. And in one episode, we get a short piece of animation called Starbucks and Cindy. That feels like a radical breath of fresh air, with a unique animation style, lovely tone of voice, and cleanly delineated comedy math. It was more akin to watching a Pixar short than something within the established world of this new Animaniacs. I wanted more. Starbucks and Cindy, Pinky and the Brain, and any of the smaller wins embedded within the series only serve to demonstrate just how aggravatingly mean-spirited, unnecessary the rest of the series is. There are countless animators, storytellers, and artists dying to make animated content that feels new, fresh, and even just interested in being a television show. Well, then why don't they? Are you saying we only have to hire people that are new and follow your political narrative? Because that's what it really seems like, Gregory. To spend so much time on this show that hates itself for existing and everyone else for watching just reminds me of how much opportunity there could be for stories that are demanding to be told, to entertain, to progress, to make the world an invitingly zanier place. Instead, time and money is spent cynically, by its own admission, on a version of meanness, stunted growth, and negativity. I think it is no longer time for Animaniacs. All right, Gregory, let's just take a quick look at Gregory Lawrence and some of the other things he has reviewed. Let's see. Here's how you can help those in need using Animal Crossing. Okay. Apps, got it. App gaming. Rick and Morty PS5 ad ends with unprintable obscenities naturally. Yeah, okay. Okay. Mortal Kombat's great. Got it. Got it. New Wonder Woman. Yeah. Oh, look. Billy Porter to make a directorial debut with What If? A trans-centered high school romance. Well, this sounds lovely as heck, says Gregory Lawrence. So we obviously can see what Gregory Lawrence is into and why he says that anything critical of his woke, liberal left political views, is branded conservative and hateful and meanness, obviously, because this is the kind of stuff he's into. Here's the guy's Twitter. Oh, look at this tweet that he sent out just the other day on November 16th. He made a poll. Would you rather have relations with a bottle of milk, a bottle of juice, or a bottle of soda? Gee, I wonder, Gregory L. Smith, Gregory Lawrence, a.k.a. Gregory Lawrence, just in case you have any questions here. I don't know why he has two different names, but this is his Twitter. This is the guy right here. That's him. That is Gregory Smith. So this is the guy hating on Animaniacs for making fun of him, essentially. He likes it when they make fun of everybody else, but he doesn't like it when they make fun of him. That's really what it seems like. So he thinks that everything should be cut, dyed in the wool from an extreme left, progressive viewpoint. He thinks they should be teaching our kids the new progressive talking points and the new progressive outlook. They want to cram that stuff down our throats in every capacity. They don't want real humor. This is what a lot of people talk about with the death of comedy here in 2020. Comedians can't even play, like Jerry Seinfeld won't even play any college campuses because you can't tell jokes anymore without getting brutally criticized and shouted down by people like Gregory Lawrence. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny that these guys are all up in arms, and guys like this think that Animaniacs is mean-spirited and just far too conservative leaning. So as you can tell, Animaniacs 2020 Reboot is definitely worth a watch. It's definitely great, and from what I've seen, it's pretty hilarious. So I would suggest you go and watch it before it gets taken down. Anyway, that's all I've got for this. Just wanted to take a little break from my typical political rants about the current state of the economy in Washington State. And my next video will probably be returning to that topic and talking about the new restrictions with Jay Inslee and that kind of stuff. But yeah, Animaniacs 2020. Go watch it. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.